Hello, hello, hello again, everybody. Here on another one of Nain shorts. We're shooting from our secret location once again, which is not very secret. It's Rick's house. So now you know. Last time it was a secret. This time it was the big reveal. I didn't make any announcements, but those who watch on a regular basis, there you go. Something fun for you. But welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about a funny conversation that I had with my daughter while we were on vacation, and it got me thinking about a topic. But I want to start with the story first. So we're having a conversation, and we come to the conclusion that men don't get a lot of compliments, especially from other men. Uh, Me in particular, I find it easy to throw a random compliment at women. Some of my customers, male and female, because of the job itself, but in everyday life, it doesn't really happen a lot. So she gave me a goal. She said, "All right, 10 guys, compliment 10 random people, males," and I got through 7. And after that, I found it incredibly difficult to say something positive about some random person that I just met. Now, what does this have to do with martial arts? Not much. Except, I started considering the idea of, okay, how do you de escalate a situation when somebody's already in a bad mood? Or trying to start something physical? Essentially, verbal judo, which we've heard that term before. And it dawned on me that, okay, somebody's in a bad mood, somebody's upset, you say something nice to them, it might calm them down. It might get them out of that mindset. It might not. Really, it's going to be per case situation. Nothing's ever going to work 100% of the time. And maybe your delivery isn't working, or just the situation was just bad altogether from the beginning. But started thinking, okay, how do you practice being nice to somebody or saying nice things to people? And that's what I came up with. Randomly talking to people and giving them compliments and not coming off as a creep. Now, something about me personally is I don't have any natural social skills. Everything that I do now, the way that I communicate, the way that I talk, I've learned through reading books, through studying. About 8, 9 years ago, became way too apparent that I do not have this life skill. And then as I studied, I realized, well, I never really understood like social norms or dynamics, what people pick up throughout their life, just interacting with other people. I never got. I never understood. So as I picked that up, I learned how a compliment can put somebody at ease, even though you don't want anything from them. It can just put them in a better place. But I also learned that when it comes to communication, about 80% of it is physical. It's the way that you posture yourself when you're talking to somebody. It's whether your face is animated in a certain direction. Even though your voice is still the same, even though your words aren't aggressive, just changing the way that you present it can change the way that people perceive that information. The words haven't changed. They're still the same, but all this makes a huge difference. About 12% of communication is tone and inflection. How low you say something, the punctuations, the octaves that go up in certain points and when they go down. I mean, most of grammar, that's what it is. It's how you go about saying something, how you go about reading something. You put the comma in the wrong place, and you're saying something completely different. So that's that. And then only about 8% of the words of what is actually said is part of the communication. So the words themselves only makes up about 8% of communication. So now I started thinking, okay, how does that really relate to martial arts? And in talking to my instructor, Rick, he pointed out that a lot of the traditional martial arts within them have ingrained a lot of habits that present a sense of both confidence, but also humility and respect in the way that we go about doing things. From the way you tie your belt, to the way you bow in, to the way you keep your gi clean. All these things that build responsibility, hard work, respect for your elders and those above you. These are things that become essential tools in not being complete a-holes outside of the school. And yet, I've met some martial artists that sadly are complete a-holes outside of their school. And that's not to say that their teachers were bad in any way or that the school is bad in any way. It's just that some people just naturally gravitate to that type of personality. And we don't know what's going on outside of the class that kind of gets that or gets them there. But I have noticed that there are a lot of angry people out in the world, and has nothing to do with martial arts. But martial arts does give a good foundation in that sense to create and promote good habits, really. Those that will probably help you avoid most, if not all, conflicts if used all the time. Which is, again, being respectful, being confident, and not being, looking like a victim, like an easy prey, but also not being boastful and puffing your chest out. Just, I still don't understand why people do that. And again, like I said, I've read books on the matter, body language and social norms and how to build rapport, and I still don't get why guys, more often than not, puff up their chest whenever they see somebody else puff up their chest. There really is no need. I've never been in a fight myself. I've always been able to talk my way out of them, and this is before I started studying martial arts. And what actually led me to study martial arts is because when I remember those times, my heart would be beating so fast and I'd be so scared. But I was able to talk my way out of it. And I don't know if it was because people in front of me just weren't angry enough. I looked way too miserable already that they felt bad about bullying me at that point. Or maybe I just didn't give them enough resistance for them to say, okay, this is worth it. I don't know, and I can stay here and we can speculate every possible scenario, but what I will say is that I've always been good with words when I needed to be. I've always been able to say what I needed to say and get my point across. Sometimes in the not the best situations, but when it came to getting into fights, I was able to avoid all of them. I didn't care about being looked at as a coward. I didn't care about my pride being hurt. There wasn't much pride there to begin with. I know, sounds silly, but it's true. Which is why I can do things like my 11-year-old daughter giving me a challenge to compliment 10 random dudes wherever we happen to be. But de-escalating a situation, as I understand it, isn't always going to work. And you can do your best. You can try everything you possibly can to avoid that situation. But the fact of the matter is once somebody has crossed that threshold and has made up their mind that they're going to fight you or they're going to hurt you, it's going to happen. There's nothing that you can really do at that point. But use the skills that you've spent so long refining and training. Hitting here, then here, then here, then here, then a knee to the head. Cool stuff. But how much time have we spent training everything prior to the physical confrontation? How much time do we give to how we say things? What to say? When to say it? What situations is it appropriate to step in or to simply keep a distance and just keep a calm tone? How important is it to breathe through a situation? How often in our classes do we delve into these topics and actually take time to practice them? We practice all the physical stuff, which is a lot of fun. The kicks, the punches, the throws, the locks, the chokes. A good time. But in my experience, more often than not, what saved me was talking. So, it just got me thinking, how can we use these ideas of body language, of inflection, of the words that we use, of maybe the cultural differences, because sometimes one word that is completely innocent to you could be completely insulting to somebody else, and that could be enough to start a physical conflict. Honestly, I don't have an answer right now for you in reference to that. I have suggestions. I definitely suggest that reading become a big part of your daily life simply because it trains the mind to understand words, syntax, context. So if you can fill your brain with information on how to punch better, then why not fill also your brain with ideas on how to speak better, how to convey information better, how to let somebody know that, hey, I made a mistake, and actually sound sincere. Because I'll be the first to tell you, there are times when I've apologized and I didn't think that I needed to apologize, but I did it simply because I didn't want to get into a fight. I knew I wasn't in the wrong, but what do I gain from arguing with somebody, trying to make and get my point across and get into a fight, an altercation, when I could have just said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I'm wrong. I'm being an a-hole. My apologies. And then think of a way to actually appease that person's anger, or at least divert it into something else. Just to avoid a fight. We talk about going as far as we need to avoid that conflict. Because again, that's one of the things that you find in traditional martial arts that is incredibly helpful and that should be taught from a young age onward. To avoid conflicts, do everything you can to do it. But how often do we actually train the tools that are going to help us achieve that? Again, just a thought that I've been having. Conversations with my daughter are always fun. If you go back a few episodes, you get to meet my oldest daughter, and most of the people I meet say she's smarter than me, so who knows? Maybe she's the one that gives me these ideas. But it got me thinking. De-escalating a situation. How important is it to you? And how can you train it better? And make it a regular thing in your life? So you won't have to break. Right? Just a thought this week. Thank you very much for joining me on another one of Nain's Shorts. Hope you have a wonderful evening. 3, 2, 1, cut!